Hello, everyone, and welcome to MicroStrategy Connect. This is live session number 9. So if you haven't been here before, we're super excited that you're here. It's Thursday. It's an office day, so the energy in the office is pretty exciting. And Connect is a series where we just sit down with our experts across MicroStrategy and we just talk technology. So today we're mixing it up. We have one person from product, one person from sales with us, and they're here to showcase all things Workstation and just how easy it is to use the Workstation product. So team, what's up? I'm so happy you're here. And let's do some introductions. I guess we'll get started. I'll start with Kevin. Hello.
Hello. How are you? My name's Kevin Rooney. I'm a solutions sales engineer based out of Brooklyn.
Nice.
I'm Alex Olvera. Hello again to those of you that is not your first Connect. Happy to be talking to you guys again. I'm in product management, and I lead the Dossier authoring and consumption workflows, as well as applications. And yeah, happy to be here.
Just all the span of from building to viewing. So super cool. Two of my favorite Dossier experts here. We're so excited. But we always kick it off with a lightning round. So we're going to do that today. So a few fun questions for you guys. The first one is kind of related to MicroStrategy. So what is your favorite visualization and why? I don't know who wants to take it.
So for me, my favorite is the bullet chart. That is my favorite visualization. We offer the modern grid, which allows you to insert a micro chart column. And so that bullet chart is my favorite. It's so simple. It's so small. It's a really great way to sort of report KPIs that are easy to read side by side. And so bullet chart is definitely my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with that. I guess I'll pick the whole grid as my favorite visualization. Yeah. The whole modern grid, I should say. I'm excited about the much better performance it has, and how we are, constantly evolving it so that one day will be the grid with all the micro charts available in it as well, like bullet chart. From the micro charts, I agree with you. I prefer the bullet chart also.
Yeah, two good things. So everyone use the grid. It's been a long journey, but it's super fast now. There's a lot more to it, especially in Dossier than there was. So two great answers. All right. And then if you don't know, we're back in person for MicroStrategy World this year, which is happening in May. So why would you guys say that people should go to MicroStrategy World?
Well, I've been as a customer a couple of times, and I've been there in a sales engineer capacity. And it's just an amazing experience to get together with other like-minded people. Super exciting just to sort of nerd out about Dossier design. But also there's a lot of technical deep dive sessions that you can get into as well to explore some of the new features. But that ability to sort of interact in person with other people that are using MicroStrategy, maybe in different ways, maybe in similar ways, just creates a really exciting atmosphere that I'm excited that we are finally doing in person. It's very exciting.
I know, yeah, I've missed it. I think that the thing that I've enjoyed the most in previous MicroStrategy World conferences is just, like you said, the interaction with customers, learning the problems that they're trying to solve, having brainstorming sessions together. I take a lot of feedback and good ideas for product improvements, that we kind of bring back here on the product management side to evaluate, try to design solutions for that. And so it's pretty cool to have that kind of interaction directly with customers.
Yeah. I think that's a great point too, as we hear so much at World and document that into that product roadmap. So that's a really great point. I love it. All right. And then third, before we get into the technology, what is your favorite piece of technology and why?
Let's see. So for me, it's a combo answer, and it's a little funny, but I have a cat camera and I have an auto cat feeder as well. And what I'll do, I'm at HQ today, so I've traveled down from New York. And what I'll do is I'll open up the app on my phone, turn on a microphone and say, Winston. And he just comes running on over, and then I auto feed. It's amazing.
Ah, that's so cool. So virtually being able to be with the pets is your favorite.
Priceless.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Alex.
Yeah, I wanna buy a cat also, or adopt a cat. If anybody knows of any cat for adoption, please let me know.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's definitely the automatic door locks, because every time I go to bed, I'm always worried with, did I lock the door? And it's nothing more beautiful than just taking out the phone. It's like, yes, I did.
Checking. Yeah. I think it's so cool to think about different technologies. Kevin, I actually thought you were going to say Apple Pencil, though. I really thought you were, the way you do
I
all
love
your
this
demos.
thing so much.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But those cats, I gotta say, the technology that they have takes the cake for me.
I love it. All right. So those were our 3 questions of the lightning round. For those watching, we're about to get into technology questions. But if you have anything to comment, make sure you do that while you're watching, and we'll get to that at the end. So let's get into it. We are talking about Workstation today, as we said. And when we traditionally talk about Workstation to our customers, even internally, I think a lot of people automatically think that it's administration, it's architecting, and that's it. And that's where a lot of us, I think about it. But Workstation was designed to be the one place for all of our users, especially analysts. It's really easy to download, really easy to get started. So I'm going to get Kevin, your take, because you are in the field so much talking to customers. What is your take on building content with it?
You know, it's based, if you're proficient at building a pivot table, there's no reason to not be building dossiers with Workstation or with the live MicroStrategy library experience environment. Now, what I have here is Workstation opened, and it's not connected to any environment. So I'm completely offline. And you can see that even when I'm in offline mode, I do have that ability to create a dossier from scratch. Now, this is the interface where you build dossiers. I mentioned it's basically a pivot table on steroids. So super easy to build once you bring in your data, because you have all of the logical different drop zones from which to build content. So first we're going to go and we're going to select some data to bring into a dossier. Now you can see that there are countless different ways to connect to different environments, whether it's a Snowflake environment, whether it's Google Drive, whether it's Twitter or Spark or anything that you can think of, Hadoop. In this example, we'll just simply create a spreadsheet, a data set from a spreadsheet. So I'll go ahead and select this Excel file, and I'll click Prepare Data just to look at what we're going to bring in. Now you can see here that it segments the fields in the spreadsheet by attribute and metric. This can all be modified as needed, but it's smart enough to recognize even geography fields and time-based fields for you. So we'll bring that data. We'll bring that data in, and now you can see. I'm going to show you 3 different methods from which to create visualizations. One is simply grab the fields you want and bring them in to the canvas.
Boom,
boom, just like that. You've created a grid. People love grids. So look how easy it is to build a grid. But I could also use the visualization gallery and then start to use the drop zones instead to be able to add the fields that I want into the relevant places. Notice the drop zones are specific for a bar graph in this example. I'll sort it quickly in descending order. All major actions that you can think about, you can do with a right or left click. And then the third way to create visualizations is by using natural language. So in this case, I'm going to write what I'm looking for. It's scanning through the fields in the data sets and basically using natural language. Not only is it smart enough to make a visualization for you, but it recognized that we were dealing with geography-based fields. And so that natural language was also smart enough to recommend a map to be able to do for a visualization. Then I can even target visualizations against each other so that when I click on them, it dynamically filters some of the other content. So those are just some quick examples of ways where you can go from 0 to 60 in seconds. It's really, really easy to use. It's very logical. And, you know, then in this case, I'm just going to save a file, call it Workstation for Everyone. And then we'll look at that file later when we actually bring it into the MicroStrategy environment and start to leverage it for other more enterprise grade type application. But the thing is that I want to emphasize is that Workstation is for everyone. So why should people use it? Well, like one, you know, we do email content back and forth a lot. Why send a spreadsheet when you can send an MSTR file and somebody can just open it up in Workstation or bring it into Library? Maybe you're at an airport and you're in an offline state and you're working from a MicroStrategy Dossier file. Great use case there. And then a couple of other ones that I wanted to mention are, maybe you're just trying out some things at home and you're connecting to your Google Drive and seeing what's out there. And then I'll also add the one that's very exciting to me is in the help dropdown. When you have Workstation opened, you can start to look at preview features.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And preview features allow you to see what's kind of coming down the pipe and actually play with it in real life and start to experience that for yourself.
Yeah, and that's something that we are doing more and more every release. We are trying to be quicker at putting new functionality out there that maybe it's not ready for prime time because, we want to have a more complete end-to-end user journey enabled in it, but it's ready for feedback really. And so I encourage everybody to try that. Preview features, help menu, enable preview features, restart Workstation, and you're done. Refer to our README file, the What's New section. You will see clearly there what features we are releasing as a preview. And so that you guys can try them out, and I'll be more than happy to hear your feedback about them.
Yeah.
And then in the example that we showed you, the goal was to show you how easy it is to build dossiers from scratch and how you can quickly do these sort of builds in 3 different sort of workflows: the natural language, the drop zones, and into the canvas themselves. But these can actually mature so that they're not just self-service, quick hits, but they can actually mature to become robust applications using this MicroStrategy Dossier technology. A bunch of good examples if people want to go out there and see what some mature application grade dossiers look like is go to demo.microstrategy.com and you can actually play with some live, really, really great examples of what this can grow to become.
You can download those dossiers, right? That's MSTR files, so that you can just open them up in your own workstation, upload them to your company's environment, play with them, change them, make them your own. So yeah, definitely good examples there for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, it's almost, if you go to a demo, a lot of times when you get that kind of skeleton of a dossier too, and then you can mix and match it with your data, it is, Alex, very similar to a dossier template, which I don't know if you want to talk about briefly with this. And how that works.
Yeah, I mean, the Dossier templates, we released that in our Update 8 release that came out in December. And a Dossier template is just like any dossier, right? Typically, when you create a dossier, you can create the structure first, the type of visualizations that you will need. Maybe you add a data set to it as well. And you can save that as a template, so that any other of your business users, they don't have to start from scratch anymore. And so it's also useful, like if you want to, as an applications architect, for example, if you want to guide people to adhere to certain corporate standards, maybe you want there to be a logo by default, so then you can just define all that into a template, and that dictate that as a starting point for your business users. And because Dossier templates are objects in the metadata, they also have user access control, so you can dedicate distinct templates for different business needs, and so depending who the user is, that's the default template that they will use, or the list of templates they have access to. So
really cool. Awesome. All right, so you guys, that was awesome, Kevin. So you brought in the data, gave us a good foundation, where you can start with Dossier and Workstation, integrating a lot of our common visualizations. Another one you didn't see was KPI, but that's another very popular one when you're first getting started. And you could just see how seamless and simple that was. But we're going to take it up a notch. I want to ask you guys, again, you both loved the grid, about how transactions work and about the transactional grid. And this is something that Alex is pretty close to. So Alex, can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so we're excited that we brought transactional workflows to our modern stack, to Dossier and to Library. And so the first part of these that we have released is the transactional grid. And the beauty of it is that for those of you that might be familiar with creating a transactional document through our report services documents tool, very powerful, but also a bit more invested in getting it configured to work properly. And so what we aimed here on the Dossier side is to just really simplify it as much as possible so that everything within the Dossier authoring interface, you can define your grid, configure the transaction. And so here you guys can see, we are adding a data set, a live connection to a database in this case, so that we can write back to that and query back the refresh data as soon as you updated a field, which you will see here. And so it's just as simple as that, really. It's, as you're going to see here in the video, it's creating the data set, selecting what are the tables that you want to update. In this example, we are going to update the inventory tables. And you see that, as Kevin showed previously, in data import interface, everything is automatically detected as attributes and metrics. Here we can remove, a bunch of stuff that we might not need for this particular case, which you can very easily do with right mouse clicking the screen, saying do not import, then they go away. You can see that the two tables that we imported, there's one that has the item names, and the other one is the inventory table. A link between the item ID columns was automatically detected as being the same, key. So you don't even have to worry about that. You save your changes, done. Your new live data set is there. And we can start creating the transactional grid. You go to the visualizations gallery. Of course, you select the modern grid as your visualization for that. And really just start adding the data, right? So we're going to call these inventory updates. And so we're going to add, of course, the item attribute. And we would add also like whatever metrics, right? And not all the metrics have to be editable. You can add as much information as you need in the grid. And then later on is when you define which fields are editable. And so there we go. I'll rename that real quick. And it takes just going to the visualizations context menu, the little 3-dot button in the top corner, say configure transactions. And well, this message just means that, if you're going to configure a transaction, if you later remove some fields, you might affect it. So it's just letting you know. But once you're in the dialog, we support, or you can configure transactions for updating, inserting, or deleting data. In this example, we're going to do an update. And so I'm just going back to the same database and table that I imported before through a live connection. And here is I'm just telling the transactional grid, okay, this is the table that I want to update. So I found it. It's the same one that we imported earlier. And then you start mapping the fields. So the item ID column is going to be mapped to my item attribute in the grid, right? And that's how I'm going to know that the field that I'm updating belongs to a specific item ID. That's how the query will know, right? And then you say the other editable fields, which are metrics in this case, the order quantity, target quantity, and unit cost. Those are going to be my editable fields. You click on that button to say, okay, this is my item ID is how I'm going to find the record, right? The work clause of the SQL, which, by the way, you can see the SQL view in the editor if you need to. You can configure the inputs controls, right? So I'm telling that these are integers because they're like order quantities. The unit cost, of course, is going to be decimal because it's a currency. And the source of the values that the user can pick from can be like freeform, or you can give them a list of values. And that list can be dynamic, or it can be sourced from another table, for example, so that you can just update it in the database directly without having to update your dossier. In this case, I'm just doing a calculated list of values. Then you can also configure what happens after the user submits a transaction. I'm configuring here a message, just a confirmation message. Inventory item updated, of course. And that's it. I mean, it only took, a pretty intuitive set of clicks. And after that, your transactional grid is there, is ready. As you can see, the drop down that we configured with all the predetermined values is there. You accept the value. Any calculated metrics, of course, that depend or that rely on these fields are going to get automatically recalculated and updated in your dossier, right? So you can think of many different types of workflows that you could enable with transactions, even some in which a transaction or an update on a table can trigger other things in the database. You can enable some what-if scenarios as well, like these. And so it's a pretty powerful feature. We are continuing to invest in it this year. Transactional forms are coming, custom actions in Python. And don't even get me started, but it's like a lot of really cool functionality that is coming around creating transactional workflows, configuring custom actions in the dossier, and enabling like complete application experience. So excited about that.
Yeah. It's a lot coming. A lot of, too, what we're going to see in the Futures keynote at World will be related to what Alex is saying about how we're kind of taking transactions to the next level. So that is really exciting. And then, Kevin, do you in the field, are lots of customers using the transactional grid? What have you seen with this?
Yeah, I've seen it on mobile. I've seen it on web experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People typically use it. You use the word workflow. And I think that's the best way to really put it is that you can trigger workflows often and use this not just as an analytics consumption tool, but a full-blown, you know, interactive read-write application. So definitely great that we can do that in Dossier now. Super exciting.
I agree. I love that it's in Dossier. If you're still one of those people that is remaining on RSDs, I think it's like you're slowly seeing the modern stack, you know, get a lot of the features you've been waiting for. So it's a big deal. The grids are the place to go right now. But all right, next, I did want to review one of the questions we get a lot from the field and in product management. I know people ask us this, and it's how to enable a little bit of self-service or lightweight authoring, as a lot of people call it, within library, within Dossier. And they really kind of want business users to be able to change the view of the data, be able to really quickly change grids a lot of the time. And our answer is typically attribute metric selectors. So I wanted to kind of briefly show that really quickly. And if you guys want to speak to how that works, I think that'd be a great kind of addition.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Let's go.
I'm definitely a big fan of this feature, and I sort of think about it as guided self-service. The example we showed originally was starting from scratch and building from a blank canvas. Sometimes people want that sort of assisted and guided experience where it is still ad hoc and self-service and manipulating the data on the screen, but it's sort of prepared for you. And so in this example, we're using a selector to be able to toggle out the metric that is in a particular visualization. And so now, instead of having two bar graphs on the screen taking up precious canvas space, you now have that ability to toggle through a selection of different fields in that data set that is underlying in the dossier. You mentioned using this for grids. That's an example that I use a lot. I'm a big, passionate data visualization guy, for sure. But I recognize that grids are important and that they're not going anywhere, right? And I think that it's useful to acknowledge that when we're trying to create a guided self-service experience. So in the example that you did, we did a metric selector where we were able to toggle and remove the metric that was in the bar graph. But you might have a grid, and maybe the default view just has one attribute and one metric, but you have selectors along the side that can give you 5, 10, 15 different options. And then now, without even leaving the consumer interface of MicroStrategy's library where you go to consume dossiers or in Workstation, that you can actually, without even clicking the edit button, be able to dynamically add and remove fields that you might need for later usage. You can create bookmarks, etc. So definitely super powerful feature, attribute and metric selector. Great way to swap out fields, add and remove fields without ever hitting that edit button, really. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you can choose the style that you want for it, right? In this case, it's more like a link bar, but it could also be like a drop-down menu. It can be checkboxes. It just depends on the style of your design. So, yeah.
It is really powerful, though. And I like how you said it does save the real estate, right? Because it could give you so many different views depending on what you want to see. So, and it is a way for users that might not be exactly an analyst or really familiar with data to simply see, you know, what they want to see at one given time. Awesome.
Yeah, another thing that I've seen in addition to attribute and metric selectors when people are trying to create sort of that guided ad hoc experience is often people will also use a feature that we now have in Dossier of panel stacks, right? And so in that example, you might have the bar graph as the default, but then a panel stack where underneath that, one layer behind it, you might have a grid that has that exact same data that people maybe want by default in one view, but in their sort of guided experience of self-service, they might want to toggle to that easy, quick hit grid that gives you the same information maybe displayed in a more personalized panel. So that's definitely another good way to sort of create a blended experience of guided self-service.
Yeah. More interactivity as well, right? So it's more fun to be able to interact and toggle visualizations, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's awesome. And then when we're talking about what they see on the screen right now, essentially a panel stack, right, could allow them to see the bar chart in the first panel. And then if they switch, they'd be able to see that graph all within one square. Yeah, it's pretty great. And there's so many things you could do. I mean, with all of the functionality today, you could have one page that really has all the information you need with Dossier.
Yeah, I use vertical scrolling quite a bit, because if you think about how we all interact with the internet, for example, or even our phones, like we're so used to a culture where you're scrolling through an email or you're scrolling through any content. So sometimes I'll make just one-page dossiers rather than multiple pages or multiple chapters that are just very tall dossiers, and you can scroll through and get all of these quick insights. So
infographic.
It's exciting. I mean, if you can dream it, you can build it in Dossier. And I just think that that's so exciting.
This is a question for you guys. When you see customers using vertical scrolling, where are they typically hosting that dossier? Is it just for someone to scroll through more information? Are they embedding it? What does that typically look like when they use vertical scrolling?
I think it just depends on the design requirements of your dossier or your application, right? Like Kevin said, if it's something where you really want to squeeze in a lot of content, and because of the responsive nature of Dossier, you want to make sure that that it's rendered correctly in even if you see it in a really slow lower resolution screen. Of course, if you're in a mobile device, we have automatic responsiveness that auto adjusts the content, and you can group those elements or visualization elements that you want to stick together even in the mobile view. So we have those features to control the responsive behavior. But just vertical scrolling allows you to kind of have like a more defined format, right? Or aspect ratio, if you will, that even if you look at it in a very small laptop or in an iPad in landscapes, landscape mode, you don't necessarily are constrained by the height of the screen. So you can just scroll through the whole thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and responsive design, right? So if you used RSDs before, a lot of people, or even today, you probably still have to either maintain or build different documents for different devices or screens. And with Dossier, it automatically will, change or adapt to the screen size. So that's super nice.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the idea is to build it once and then deploy it everywhere, right? The different form factors.
Yeah, it's cool to think of that journey. What we built started offline, got brought in online. We didn't even really think about it necessarily when we first started that project, but suddenly it's available on your phone. It's available on your tablet. It's available on the browser. It can be easily embedded and injected into third-party portals. I don't know. It's great. It's very exciting.
Kevin's having a moment thinking about all the possibilities of MicroStrategy here. No, but I mean, it's super simple, and it's kind of amazing what people can do with Dossier. One thing I did want to ask about is formatting, because I know we've done a lot of work to make that super simple, especially Alex has been on that mission just with Dossier. How easy is it for someone using Workstation for the first time to figure out what to format, where to go, and what do we have available?
Yeah, well, the Dossier authoring interface, the editor that you guys saw there, allows you, like Kevin showed, to just easily create your visualization containers, create a quick layout. You can use the automatic layout as Kevin did, but you could also switch that to freeform if you want to overlay some visualizations or some other elements. And so you create that structure first, but then the format panel that you're showing here, Holly, is where you can go and then fine tune the look and feel of your application if needed, right? In some cases, really the default formatting that is provided is good enough, is appealing. But if your requirement is, to have maybe a darker theme, right, or just use your corporate colors, we revamped the format panel so that all the different formatting properties, because there's a lot of flexibility here, right? There's like a lot of things that you can tweak to just really get the look and feel that you're looking for. And so we made sure to reorganize all those properties so that it is easy to find and it is intuitive to use them. And here I kind of want to plug in something that is coming up that I'm super excited about. I was just talking to the engineering team that is working on that yesterday, and that is Dossier themes, right? We had Dossier templates that came out in update 8. Dossier themes is kind of like the next stage of that, and where an applications architect could predefine the whole look and feel, the default look and feel of dossiers and save that as a theme object, which then
very
can be
cool.
also applied to an existing dossier. So we had a theme created now, we could just apply it to this light theme dossier, and it becomes dark theme, for example, and it changes all the font colors, font family, etc. With just really one click, right, by applying that theme object. So I'm really excited about that feature. It's coming up in a future release. I cannot say exactly when, but stay tuned. So it's soon.
I mean, when you guys think about formatting, do you have any tips and tricks for Dossier?
For me, I always put it at the end of the conveyor belt. So we talked about the use case where we showed the 3 different flavors of quickly building something. Maybe you were doing something quick that ends up being throwaway that you don't even need to format. Or maybe you're exploring the data and interrogating the data, and it will evolve into an application grade dossier. And so what I do is I start to get very nuanced and format centric at the very end of that life cycle, where I try to make something good, great. Having these templates and easier ways to apply that sort of globally is going to make that even more exciting. But if you're like me and you want to be nuanced about little individual, very specific details, I have to say that the sort of revamped filter panels, which are specific and intuitive and different for each visualization. And you saw that in the video where the bar graph, excuse me, where the grid had a different sort of format panel that was centric to grids. The bar graph had one centric to that. Geospatial will have map relevant format panels, KPIs as well, and on and on. But basically, everything is easy to find. I know the tech team worked hard to sort of revamp the layout for how you can find content in the format panel. And so, you know, when I said the comment about if you could dream it, you could do it in Dossier and in Workstation, these are those subtleties that really make it so that what you had envisioned, you get to see it actually get developed in real life once you get into those little nuanced details.
It really is just so easy. That ease of use of building Dossier, I think even when you compare it to other tools, is so great. And I think it's because our tech team did such a good job of taking workflows that we always found super simple, the drag and drop, the formatting panels, and injecting that into Dossier design. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I think the thing that someone would think about next, and Kevin, you talked about this, is it might be throwaway, or it might be something that you're saving and sharing with others. You might do it through library. You might do it through subscriptions. Since we're on the topic of Workstation, I think we should talk about how powerful the subscription services are and the ability to send out subscriptions in Workstation is. So that being said, we're going to switch gears to more of an admin perspective. Can you tell us a little bit about how an admin might send out content, which might be a dossier, might be reporting, how that works?
Yeah, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, well, let me get it started.
Great.
Because I think this talks about a broader point, which is our whole modernization journey, right? And so business users can also just create and manage their own subscriptions through library, whether it's an email subscription, PDF subscriptions, select the schedule, send to other users. And this is all, of course, ruled by user privileges. So, you know, all those interactions can be governed. And on the workstation side, the thing here is that Workstation is for everybody. So same thing, any analyst, any business user that happens to be using Workstation can achieve the same thing there. But from the admin standpoint, then of course, the level of privilege of an administrator would allow them to also manage the subscriptions for all the user base and being able to, you know, update them, delete them, and just keep them in check, right? Create subscriptions for other users, of course. So, and this is all a modernized experience now in Workstation and library. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and notice right there on the screen, we're adding a single attachment right now into the content. But behind that screen, up at the top where it says content, there's a little plus sign right there. And it's all about these subtleties that make it really powerful for the actual users out there. And I can't say how excited I am that you can send out a subscription for one email that can have like 6 or 7 attachments. It can have an Excel file. It can have a CSV file. It can have a text file. It can have a PDF. And then most excitingly, it can have an MSTR file that you can open up in Workstation when it's distributed to you via email. And so just being able to send out bulk content like that, I think is really, really, really exciting. And then also, I think what we'll see here is an example of where you can put in dynamic content as well into the body. So here we choose our subscription schedule, set the expiration date that we want if we want one. And then you can see the little I next to subject and next to message. That gives you a clue as to some of those dynamic fields that you can put in to the messaging. So that, for example, here, when you say to Dear, you can actually dynamically input a field that will then be personalized for each user that receives the message. So pretty cool stuff. Very easy to use for users. So yeah, here we go. Like, Dossier is not just about creating dossiers. You can do so many things.
And then so when they're adding content there, guys, like Kevin said, we can mix and match content types. Doesn't have to be one type. Awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you see that at the top left in the content section. You can actually go in and add multiple different attachments. So it's pretty exciting. One email, 6 attachments potentially. All these MSTR files out there. It's very exciting.
Being able to manage them all in one place. And then really quickly, so obviously we're looking at just plain subscriptions. But Alex, you did mention earlier that you also, own applications as a whole, meaning custom applications on the roadmap. And it actually might have come out already. But even being able to customize notifications for an application is something we've went into. Do you know on the roadmap, are we working on being able to customize those subscriptions that we send out?
Yeah, excellent question, Holly. And absolutely, that's the idea of the whole applications initiative that we have, right? Provide these out-of-the-box ways to configure the overall experience for business users and to be able to white label it as well. And like you mentioned, we actually delivered an enhancement in Update 8 as well that got released at the end of December, that through applications, all the notification emails when users in library are sharing a dossier or they share a bookmark, or if they're using collaboration services and they tag another user in the discussion or in the comments or start a new discussion, all those email notifications that users receive are now completely configurable through the applications editor in Workstation. The administrator can go there. There is an email notifications tab. You can have your own logo, your own colors, your own email content. It also has the use of the macros so that you can say Dear, send their name, recipient name, and so on. So it's full customizability there. If you're embedding, MicroStrategy, a dossier, for example, or visualization in your own web application, and you still want to use those workflows, the email that users get, like the URL of the opening browser, right, that kind of points back to the content that was shared, it's also configurable so that it can also point back to the hosting web application. And then the embedded content actually displays the bookmark that was shared, for example, or the notification that was shared with the user.
Yeah, I've actually seen a really cool implementation with that new feature of personalizing the emails, where it was beautifully branded. And to your point, maybe the out of the box would have that button open up the dossier where the interaction happened. But you can create these workflows through the distribution of the email too, where that button could go to a portal that you built that has an embedded dossier in that. And so it can actually interact and trigger all sorts of different types of workflows. Right. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
A lot of OEM customers are quickly kind of jumping into that feature because it really unleashes, a whole set of possibilities. So.
Yeah, I think that might be one of my favorite new features. I love it. I love the branding concept. I think it makes it a little bit more personal. I love it. So yeah, but there is a lot that we're doing to do the same thing with subscriptions. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Okay, last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is one thing that is unique to Workstation, and that is building hyperintelligence cards. And if you don't know about hypercards, they are our kind of flagship product that allows us to pop up contextual insights across web applications, email, etc. So we're actually going to do kind of a live demo to show you guys how easy that is to build. And just pro tips when you're building it, because there's so much, again, flexibility with cards, things that you can do, next actions even. So let's get into that. Are you guys ready to build?
Yeah, we'll do it
We'll
live.
try it. Yeah, we're doing it live. So everyone take that as a disclaimer.
Disclaimer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. See if you guys can see my screen there. Not yet.
Let's see. We can.
There we
can
go.
see it now. There we go.
Perfect. There we
All right.
go. Yeah, so I'm connected from my workstation to the same environment that we used to show you guys these cool demos that you saw, that you're seeing today. And one of the data sets, we just saved it as a standalone data set, right? An object in the metadata. It has all the item data with suppliers. And right-click on it, select New Card. That's all it takes to open the editor. And now we are in the HyperCard editor. And it's a really cool interface, all modern paradigms here. I'm just dragging and dropping, let's add, my item, which is I want cards. Every time an item is identified in any website, then the card will detect that. And it's a zero-click experience, right? If I just hover over that item, the idea is that the HyperCard will kind of like just bubble up with that additional information, calls to action, that allows you to link as well to maybe see the kind of like the complete detailed dossier, right, in library, for example. But all the authoring experience is really seamless, as you can see, right? So there is like some predefined here formats that you can use. I'm going to stick to this one, nice color. And I'm going to add the supplier attribute so that I can see who supplies a given item that I might find in a website or in my own corporate web applications. I'm going to change the layout here to be a little bit more simple. I'm going to do a 2x2, which just takes that. And let's add a couple more metrics here. So the profit and the revenue. And then I'm going to also add a little bit of a visual element. I'm just dragging and dropping the ring visualization here in the bottom of the card. And for that, we're going to do % growth and the profit margins, and some good metrics that I want to have there just pop up at all times, right? Like we mentioned, we could configure a link as well, right? So you could link to a dossier that then shows you the complete analysis of whatever item you're trying to focus on, right? So we can even choose the dossier that Kevin created called Workstation for Everyone. And there you go. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you save it. And let's say it's our product card. And make sure that we're saving it in our environment. And that looks good. I'm going to certify it as well, right? If I'm an administrator, I have the right privileges. This is a card that comes from the, the system of record, the single source of the truth. I certify it, save it. And then the beauty of this is that once it's saved, if you're in any web application, really, right? I have this dossier open just for sake of the example, but really any web application that you're on, you have your hyper intelligence plugin deployed in your browser, and there you would just refresh quickly here, and the card that I just created should appear there. Where is it? Product card. There it is. Created today. I'm going to go ahead and load it. It can be loaded by default as well for the administrator.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? You see how the grid actually, the item column of the grid already has all the items highlighted because the hyper found them, right? And again, this could be from any website. Doesn't have to be a MicroStrategy dossier. And when you hover over, no clicks needed, the hyper card immediately shows up and is displaying the information that I created. In fact, I had created a different card.
Yeah, that's you have too.
I have a little toggle here because if I have more cards that show additional information, then it would also allow you to access them that way. So if I click on the little arrow at the top, that's the one that we created, right? So cool. You can actually enable multiple cards. I kind of did it by accident now because I was practicing this exercise just before meeting with you guys, and I created this other card kind of like on the fly there. So it's just showing up there as well, right? But as you saw in the extension, your environment can have a bunch of cards that just provide information from all sorts of things, right? From employees, expense items. We use it a lot internally to learn more from our customers, right? When we are in our systems of record. And so, like I said, the card can link, into a dossier. And so from a customer that we see in one of our system of record applications, we hover over the customer name, we get the KPIs, we have a quick overview, and we want to ask more questions to our system of record. We just click on the link, and that shows us our customer detail dossier, for example, showing us the details of that customer. So pretty cool workflows that you can enable with Hyper, I think.
Yeah, I get excited about Hyper because of its simplicity too. So even on the screen that you have opened right there with the plugin at the top right, you've got a little magnifying glass. So in addition to that ability to hover over content that you see on the screen, you can now go to one quick place and just search for any noun in the entire in your entire MicroStrategy ecosystem, and basically search for anything that you can think of. We do a lot of people cards. So the Kevin Rooney card, it'll say, I've got these days coming up, my tenure is XYZ, and then have these next best actions, right? So you could maybe write a message to me on Teams, or shoot me an email, or launch a dossier that filters for Kevin Rooney or something like that. But the thing that's worth pointing out is that we have the item card here, any noun. So they're not just people cards. It can be region, it can be claim number, it can be, really anything that you can think of that's been exposed in your MicroStrategy environment.
Yeah.
But hypercards are all about quick hits, right? So the idea is that it tells you just enough information to be able to take that next best action. And maybe that next best action is to move on with your day. And so you get those quick hits, you find out what you needed to know, and you say, okay, I'm good with that. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. In other cases, you may say, oh my goodness, that graph showed 50% of something. Let me actually go and take that next best action. And maybe that's passing parameters into your CRM, or maybe it's logging into the library environment and interacting with a more detailed dossier that's sort of topical for that particular hypercard. So quick KPIs, it's sort of like a cheat sheet. Think about that way. But then also we build once and we deploy everywhere, not just with Dossier, but with hypercards as well. So you saw how easy it was to build with that drag and drop interface. Once that hypercard is built, it can be accessed through Outlook, and you can see keywords that match a calendar invite or an email or something like that. But it can also be enabled automatically for hypermobile, which is the use case that I'm always excited about these days. We use our phones for quick hits all the time, quick answers on the fly, on the go. What better thing than to have a hypercard be able to render on your phone and be able to see just enough of what you need to know so that you figure out what that next best action is. So I get very excited about Hyper. I'll be talking about Hyper, I believe, at MicroStrategy World.
Get ready.
So yeah, very, very excited about this capability.
Yeah, it's just so simple. I mean, even looking at Alex drag and drop that, so simple to drag those attributes or different metrics. One thing, you can see the color on Alex's screen right now, how it's underlined with a specific color. You can even add a threshold right to the top of the card or for the underlines. So by item, I could see right if it has, great revenue, if it's doing poorly, just by a look of color. But I love how you also mentioned Outlook, because I think the Outlook integration is probably, for me, the most impactful thing it can do. Because if you're, let's say, an account executive or a consultant, and you get emails all the time about clients, you can easily just get quick insights, which is my favorite thing with Hyper. Like meeting you where you need it, I think is really great.
Yeah, awesome. That combination of the integration with your email and calendar And how that's coupled with the mobile experience is so cool too, because
Yeah.
you'll get a notification. You didn't even think to log in to do an analysis prior to a meeting that's coming up in 15 minutes. But to get on your lock screen, you didn't do anything. And your phone is telling you, Kevin, I've got some hypercards for you. You might want to take a look because they're going to be really relevant to the conversation you're about to have. And just like that, it's just bringing the insights to you. And I just think that is hugely transformative.
Yeah. And
intelligence everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, exactly. No, just really quick, I wanted to mention, because as I was editing the card that we created before, I added the contact, the supplier contact, and the unit cost, I think is the other metric I added. And so then when I switched to library, now I'm, as a business user, I didn't have to do anything. Like those changes just got pushed immediately, right? I didn't even refresh the page. So it's really powerful functionality. The architect or administrator can just surface and update the insights that they want to bubble to their business users, and it's seamless, really. So
and so with Dossier and with Hyper, we went from like 0 to 60 in seconds, right? You can get nuanced with both of them and really tailor the content on the HyperCard too. So you have a list feature that you can drag in as a widget. You can change the size and the font sizes and the size of the box of the KPIs. And really, you can even make very tall HyperCards. So when we talk about vertical scrolling, there's a concept that has a place for that as well. If you wanted to make for a mobile experience, for example, to have a scrollable HyperCard. So
can we go here?
Right.
Grab a list.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, if you think about it, if you were building a dossier and you might have added, a few more visualizations, maybe another page, you built your HyperCard, maybe you are embedding, but you embed that dossier, you now embed the HyperCard to overlay. You've essentially built an application we have in under an hour. So, I mean, it's so easy to use, to build with Workstation. And it is, again, we kind of proved a place for everyone and anyone to get started, just how easy it is. I mean, look at this card. Remember, you also have an SDK option, so it doesn't have to be browser or mobile. You could integrate it right into web applications. But we're now going to take questions. So if you've been watching the whole time, please comment in. We have a few that came in from social media, so we're going to go over those first. One of the first questions we got is, will transactional grids work offline? And I don't know if one of you guys wants to take it. I know you guys were just building the HyperCard in the background.
No, we're back now.
We're back.
Yeah.
Hello. So it's live. We warned everyone that this might happen. So we're all good.
All right. No, offline transactions are in the roadmap, particularly for mobile. Right. I think that's where there's a lot of use cases for updating the record, going into a warehouse where there might not be connectivity, or just doing things in bulk. And so that's coming in the roadmap as part of the overall bringing transactional workflows and actions into Dossier and library for both web and mobile. So hopefully that answers the question.
I think it does. Awesome. All right, second one, because I know we have 3 minutes, so we want to get you guys all to lunch if you're on the East Coast. If I'm a business user, can I still use Workstation? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think we showed some pretty good examples at the beginning where we were just building based on what we could think of, based on data that we had access to, wherever that might be. So yeah, I mean, Workstation's for everyone. Every use case can start in Workstation for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone can be using Workstation. Again, if you're a business user, you might just want to be in library, just because with Workstation, you have so many options, but that's the point. So either way, library or Workstation, I think, is the place you can go. All right. Where can I easily download Workstation? Good, simple, but
that
good
would
question.
Be download.microstrategy.com.
Yeah.
And so if you go to that page and then you select from the drop down the option for the desktop applications, you can then get it from right there. Super easy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You might have to log in. They have to log in, right? And then they'll be good to go.
Yeah. You'll provide your credentials and then you'll be good to go.
Awesome. All right. And the last question, because we don't have any in the chat right now, is, are there plans to be able to create cards in library in the browser? That's a good question too.
Yeah, I think the overall authoring experience, it does make sense to bring it to library web, right? As a kind of like zero footprint option for a client. We have the Dossier editor available in library. The reports editor came out recently as well with a completely modernized and overhauled experience. It's to be determined on when, but I think that's the direction of library in general, right? For to enable as many, content creation as well as consumption workflows.
Yeah. And then having the ability to choose whether you want Workstation as the desktop tool or library, I think giving the flexibility to you all to choose where you want to be is really powerful. Again, those admins and architects will be in Workstation, but for analysts and business users, you really have the best of both worlds with both. So that's really exciting. All right, but that's it. We just wanted to show you how easy everything is, which I think we did. So thank you guys so much for being here. We loved it. And you'll probably see them at World. So get ready and make sure to go. We are excited. We're excited to see everyone in person.
Come say hi if you see us at World for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, friendly faces now. So come and say hi to us. And DOS Boss World's happening. So make your own dossier and submit it. See how creative you can be. But yeah, everyone have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you all soon.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.